two guys and a gal, talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies. And you know, they are really groovy. Two guys and a gal, talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies. And we know they are really groovy.
Welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Gal. I am the gal talking about movies. And tonight we are featuring a Hollywood beloved iconic actor, Tom Hanks. Here he is. Everybody loves Tom Hanks. He's always voted one of the most popular and beloved actors in Hollywood. Throughout his career, Hanks has captivated audiences with his versatility, charm, he's very charming, and commitment to excellence, solidifying his status as a true legend. From his humble beginnings in theater and television, I loved Bosom Buddies, by the way, to his rise as an A-list movie star, Hanks has amassed an impressive body of work that spans genres and defies categorization. Though we won't be discussing like every single film that he's done, because he's been in everything and he's even written like a book and more than that, we will be ranking and discussing our favorites. So I know everyone's going to watch this and say, oh my gosh, but you didn't mention this. Look, Tom Hanks is amazing. He's been in everything. So rest assured, we're going to be touching on his most iconic films. So join us tonight as we explore the journey of Tom Hanks with Manny, the man of, now I'm going to call him 101 voices because he has been doing amazing impressions, and Rory, the champion of 1,000,000,002. I took one away from you, 1,000,003 now. And I know you both do a Tom Hanks impersonation. I know you do. Do it. Let's do it. I'll put him on the screen.
See, again, it's Tom Hanks screaming. There's no crying in baseball. See,
yeah, it's just you have to scream. Right?
Last week.
So last week, Rory explained that he can only do Tom Hanks if he's yelling.
Well, actually, I can do Forrest Gump because
there you go.
That voice of that little boy that was in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right. A true Hanks impersonation.
Yeah. That's a Forrest Gump impersonation.
It's Forrest Gump.
Yep. Life is like a box of chocolates. I mean, yeah, I think we all do a little bit of Forrest Gump.
You never know what you're going to get.
Perfect.
I was missing Jenny.
No, it's like a question. I like how it ends with a question mark. I was missing Janet. You're right. It goes up kind of. That was beautiful. Very good. All right. So this is going to be hard, guys, because the more I looked into Tom Hanks this week, I said, oh my, there's like all these movies I forgot he was even in, like Captain Phillips. You know, I was like, oh my gosh, that was Tom Hanks. I mean, he played so many things that it's, yeah. Wilson, that whole thing. I mean,
Castaway.
Yeah, Castaway is so good. So I don't know how you guys did it. I don't know how you picked 5 each, but we're gonna go through them.
He's also the first actor to get to the 5 Timers or get the 5 Timers award on Saturday Night Live.
I know, right? Was it him and Steve Martin? And
that sketch was his sketch the first time.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Well, because everybody loves him. I mean, literally, like they rank it, and everybody always just like votes him. Everybody loves him. He's never pissed anyone off that I know of. He doesn't have a lot of controversies.
Except his kids.
Really?
Yeah, they've written some stuff about him saying he was tough dad. It was tough having him as a dad.
I think his daughter just published a book like last month about she was raised by his first wife, and that she had kind of a hard life. Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I've read
I think that's the only thing I heard, but she just published her book and I haven't read it yet, so I said, oh, okay. So maybe his legacy will be a little bit more multi-chromatic. But as of right now, or up until a year ago,
people that work with him in the business, everybody has good things to say about him.
They just love him. He's like the anti-Chevy Chase, because everyone hates Chevy Chase and everyone loves him. He's like in the negative. Okay, well, Manny, why don't you start us off and tell us what your most beloved film is?
Why don't you start us off, Renee? Because you're the gal.
Yeah. What's
All
your
right.
top 5?
All right. I'm gonna go with Castaway. The reason why I've
Okay.
seen it multiple times. The reason why I'm gonna say Castaway is because I love, first of all, it's like mainly him. Helen Hunt does star in it vaguely, but basically it's all him.
It's a
It's him
one-man movie.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and he shocked me with that casting, and I was shocked by the casting decision. I would have never thought, oh, Tom Hanks for a guy stranded on an island. I just didn't think. But when he does it, of course, he's such a physical humorist and he's a physical actor. It makes total sense when you see him there. When I think of Tom Hanks, I think of a social person who's going to play off of other people and have that warmth and the banter. But he just does it, and then he has Wilson. He has this the volleyball, so he gets to do that, and you get to see a master class in acting that I would not have expected. I grew up with him on Bosom Buddies. I never expected him to expand, but like Robin Williams, he did. And I love that movie because it's so artistic. It's something that all of us can relate to, even though we haven't been stranded. But he was cast away, not on the island, but really in his life. That's what happens, is that he is, when he comes back and he thinks, that everything's going to be the same, it's not. And he ends up being cast away from his own life. And his rescue is not really a rescue. He ends up having to kind of rescue himself a second time at the end. And I won't spoil that for anyone, but although you really can't, because you can write your own ending in a way. But Castaway is a movie that if you're depressed, you should watch it. If you're happy, you should watch it. If you're alone, you should watch it. If you're in a crowd, you should watch it, because it speaks to
Watch it.
all of the elements. Yes, just watch it. It speaks to all of the elements of the human condition.
Will you
and it's
just watch it?
man. Just watch it because it's man in his most primal state.
Yeah. It's too bad he
Yeah.
dies at the end. Oh, sorry.
Don't tell everybody.
Ah!
You ruined it. What about you guys? Did you guys like Castaway?
That's all right.
Castaway is on my honorable
You're like,
mention
whatever, I
list.
could take it or leave it. Yeah. Sorry, what did you say, Rory? Sorry.
It's on my honorable mention list. It's a great performance by him.
Yeah.
They had to take like 6 months off for him to get fit for the second half of the movie.
I remember that. That is
Uh-huh.
so funny that happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he
He
is
actually worked out
laid
quite a bit.
bare. I will say this, he is laid bare to the bone physically, mentally, emotionally. I don't know much about his process. I watched behind the scenes stuff like back when it came out, but I don't remember like if he
I don't think
how
he's
do you
method.
mentally do that?
I think he's
What did you say?
Said, I don't think he's method. I think he just like,
I don't
okay,
think he is either.
this is what I got to do. I'm gonna go in and do it.
Right.
That was Zemeckis' call. Bob Zemeckis, who was the producer of the film and the director, I think.
Right, yeah.
He just wanted to show that kind of, I mean, realistically, not like put makeup on his chest or, abs or anything,
Mm-hmm.
He wanted Hanks to actually go through a real transformation with no makeup or anything.
Wow.
Because Zemeckis is like that, I mean,
Yeah.
he's pretty avant-garde. So yeah, it's pretty amazing when you see the transformation of him after he's been on the island for 6 months
Yeah.
and what he's become.
What did you guys take away from the existential plot of the movie itself? I mean, I always want to ask people that, because to me it was so intense about the isolation, the rejection, the Helen Hunt's performance I thought was fantastic. I also found myself really despising that character because he worked so hard, and even though I understood she has a kid, she has a new relationship, but it just really upset me. And I don't know why, but I never got over it. I'm still mad. I'm like, no, there's got to be a way around that. No. So it really upset me, but there's things that and it's also a movie about hope, I think. I'm answering my own question, I guess, at this point, but it's about hope. There's a package that he finds, and that keeps him alive. Wilson, that we see here in this still frame, which is actually just a volleyball that he puts a face on, but Wilson gets him through it, and the memory of his fiance, played by Helen Hunt, gets him through it.
At the end,
And
though, you get a resolution. I mean, you just know that he's going to be okay at the
yes,
end of the film. That he's going to be just fine. He's going to make it just fine, even though she didn't wait for him.
right,
You know?
exactly. And I think what bothered me was, and again, it was impeccable writing. Do you guys know who wrote the script? It was just such a good script. I don't know, but I love how they made it like a really difficult situation, because she shows him the maps and how she really hung on for so long, and she was involved with the rescue efforts, or and how much she loved him and how much she still loved him and all of that. And I found that to make it worse, because I thought, oh my gosh, that just made it worse. Like, oh, you care so much up until this point. And because I'm more of a romantic, I believe that the love should always win. I feel like there's always a way. I feel like family dynamics are interesting and more fluid. So I'm not really into the way that they made it an impossible situation, and I don't think it is. I think if I were in that situation, I would make different decisions, no matter who I was.
Yes, and I think that's, you were supposed to hate her character.
Right.
You don't want her to
Yes.
end up with
Thank
him at the
you.
end of the movie. And
Thank you.
again, yeah, she didn't wait long enough. I mean, she just kind of gave up too soon. And
Right.
that's part of her kind of character. And again, she played it very well. And like you said, we didn't like her character.
Right.
And
But she's
when he meets at
likable.
the end, we're like, oh, I hope he ends up with her. She seems nice.
She seems like she wouldn't just randomly walk away after, Yeah. And it threw me through a crazy loop, because Helen Hunt is so fucking likable. I mean, it's so hard to not like her. Well, I know, no, I understand what you're saying, Rory, because I know she can rub the wrong way at times, but generally she doesn't come off as she doesn't play a villain, and they made her that way, where she is. I'm looking at your face, Rory, and I get what you mean. There's nuances of villainry, right? But
Yeah.
but she's meant to be.
What was her name? Catherine Hayes. She's like Catherine Hayes. She plays a good villain,
I don't know if anyone would think that. I don't
And I
know.
would say
that
she
they would.
plays a good bitch,
I
basically.
hated hating her. Like, I hated hating her, because I remember Mad About You. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, but she's mad about you. How could you leave Paul Reiser?
She's much more likable on that.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
But she has her moments, even there.
She can be a little, I get what you're saying, yeah.
And then Paul Reiser's got to deal with it.
Yeah. That makes
That's not like Seinfeld.
That makes it more realistic. I mean, because people are like that. We're not
Mhm.
all one thing or the other. We're not always nice
Yes.
and kind, and
Sometimes we
whatever.
can be bitchy.
Sometimes we can be, get our pennies in a wad.
Sometimes we can be selfish.
Exactly. So
Right.
okay. Well,
Thank you,
Renee.
guys. I got to that's been 10 years on my mind. No, 25 years on my consciousness.
Finally got that
to
out.
talk about it. I finally
Why did I hate her so
quarter of a
much? Because you were
century.
supposed to.
For a quarter of a century, I've been sitting on this, and you guys healed it in about 8 minutes.
Oh,
so
well, see, there you go.
you guys should be therapists. That's another career path there. You guys are
movie
great.
therapists.
Movie therapists. I love it. Thank you. Okay, so now, Manny, what was your number one?
Your number one.
My number one. Well, before I get into that, I do want to say that Tom Hanks, for me, he's just a terrific actor, and he seems like a really nice guy from all the interviews I've ever seen of him. Doesn't take himself too seriously. He's not. He knows that. Okay, yeah, this is a job, and pretty good at it. But it feels like he's had like 4 stages to his career. Starting with television, starting with Bosom Buddies with Peter Scolaro, and then he moved into, when he made the jump to movies, he was still doing comedies, because that's Hollywood. They see you as this one thing, because that's what nothing succeeds like success. But then he parlayed that, he started doing romantic comedies, all those movies with Meg Ryan and all that. But then he started moving into more dramatic roles. They were sort of light dramas. And then he started getting into the really heavy dramas later on. And that's kind of where he's at now, is doing more heavy dramas. But all that said, my number one is Forrest Gump.
Is what?
Forrest Gump. Forrest
Yeah.
Gump. And
That was really kind of the bridge from comedy to, because it was comedy, but it was also drama as well. It helped him jump into drama. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think
I can see that.
watching it again after many years later, watching it again. I mean, I've seen it, I don't know how many times, but what struck me is that it's a much deeper movie than people give it credit for. You know, I think people look at it and they see, oh, you know, yeah, Forrest played, or Tom Hanks plays this very sweet character who's a little challenged, you know, and he goes through life missing all these big events because, you know, his mind is really focused on his love of this girl, of Jenny. You know, that's what he thinks about. But looking at it now, to me, it feels like Forrest, his journey through history, is really a critique of the way Americans view history, of how we kind of skip through. We don't really think about the deeper implications of what's going on. You know, for Forrest, it's like, oh, okay, this happened and that happened. You know, for example, the scene where he picks up the notebook of the young Black girl who's trying to get into college or school or whatever, you know, and there's George Wallace trying to keep them out, you know, and all that stuff. And to him, it's just, oh, I'm you know, helping this person. He doesn't get what all that actually means, the bigger picture. Same thing with Vietnam. You know, for him, it's all about the death of Bubba. And he does, although they cut it out of the movie, I think it's still available on the DVD, you know, extras. You know, you get to hear his speech. You actually hear his speech at the reflecting pool, and oh my God, it's heartbreaking, that speech. And you can see why Abby Hoffman comes up to him and says, "Yeah, man, great speech." But I also see why they cut it out, because again, we don't like to hear the harsh truths about war and about what happens in a war. So yeah, it's to me, it's there's a subtext to Forrest Gump that people sometimes, I think, kind of either don't see or don't want to see, or just miss entirely. And same thing with Jenny's journey. I've seen people comment on, oh, she's a terrible person, and you know, she's terrible for, you know, why does he even love her? All this stuff, that he's just using him, and they miss the fact that you know, I mean, she's having to deal with all this childhood trauma. Bless you. All this childhood trauma, you know, the abuse that she, you know, that she obviously suffered, and that's not something you just get over, you know, and that informs a lot of her decisions, and as to why she does what she does. Yes. And then you get Lieutenant Dan, you know, who has this thing, you know, where he wanted to die in glory, like all his other, like his predecessors, you know, and Forrest denies him that. And so he's bitter, you know, because he feels like he's been denied something, even though he was given this gift of life. You know,
and his legs were taken, which he also has a huge chip on his shoulder about.
Yeah, about that as well. Yeah, exactly. But
by the end of the film, we get the message that, you know, life is precious, and if you move forward, chances are things are going to be okay again.
Yeah,
just like we said about Castaway, you know, he's going to end up just fine, and he does. Lieutenant Dan does. He ends up better than anybody in that movie.
Right. He's married to this
he
Asian
doesn't
woman.
Die like the rest of his family died in war.
Right.
I love to see where they show him, Gary Sinise, dressed up as all of his ancestors dying. In each war, each the Civil War, the Colonial War, World War I, you know, all the different outfits of the time period.
Yeah. I mean, it's very well thought out movie. yeah, just a well thought out movie. The special effects are a little dated now, but still very effective. Uh,
I know about the
and
CGI.
the CGI, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's still very effective. Uh, and yeah, there's a redemption at the end, and it's a very redemptive story, both for Jenny and for Lieutenant Dan. Uh, so anyway, it's just a great movie, and of course Hank being at the heart of this movie, and as you said earlier, he the voice. I saw him talking on Graham Norton's show
Right.
about how he got the voice and explaining that, yeah, he because Zemeckis was talking to him about, well, how do you got to get that voice? What are you going to do? How are you going to get, I said, well, why don't I just, since this kid is playing me it's playing the same character as a young boy, why don't I just use his voice rather than try to change him? Because it's much more authentic and it's much more real, and it gives the character this unique flavor, which it does. And now we do impressions of it because it
Yes.
sticks out so much, and
Going.
yeah, going. I was running,
Running.
and all that.
Yeah,
So
he totally stole that character from that kid. That's the
exactly,
way the kid
yeah,
played it in auditions, and they loved it. And
yeah,
Hank said, "Yeah, I'm just going to do that kid
yeah, which makes
as
sense.
a grown up
Exactly, exactly,
and
yeah,
talk like him. I can do that."
yeah,
And he got an Academy Award nod for that.
yeah. So okay, so that's my number one.
That was my number two,
Okay.
actually. My number one was Mazes and Monsters. No, I'm kidding. Uh,
I was gonna joke.
Mazes and Monsters is probably the one movie that Hanks wishes never happened.
Yeah,
It's a
it's a
TV
TV
movie
movie.
about a kid who he was very young when he did it. It was his first, I guess it was his first movie. It was a
I
TV
think
movie.
so. Yeah.
And he was very young. It was during his bosom buddy days. And he plays a kid who gets too far into it's supposed to be Dungeons and Dragons, but copyright wouldn't allow them to do it. So they call it Mazes and Monsters. And his friends have to save him from killing himself. Because he
Right.
is convinced, that he's actually in the Mazes and Monsters game in real
Yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
it's a terrible, terrible movie. It's just
Yeah.
really all the way around. It's just a bad movie.
There was this whole panic about that. About, oh my God, it's turning kids into Satanists and all this stuff, and then that's
Oh,
kind of what it
geez.
said. So
So
yeah,
I'm sure he wishes that did not exist.
yeah, it is.
But at the time he was getting his foot in the door, he wanted to, start into movies, I'm sure. So, these things happen. So my number one is Big. Um,
Oh yeah.
he is so wonderful in that movie. I mean, he does embody uh, he has a kind of a childlike quality about him,
Hmm.
that led to the character about a boy who makes a wish he wants to be big, and he grows up and he's Tom Hanks overnight.
Hmm.
So uh, directed by Penny Marshall. He's just wonderful in it. He's delightful in it, and
Hmm.
him trying to experience adult things when he still has the mind of a child. I mean, he just pulls it all off.
Yeah.
And again, he's very likable and lovable to most people in the movie, and to the audience. Just a wonderful, wonderful performance.
Hmm.
And the kid that plays the kid is wonderful, and the best friend kid is wonderful.
Hmm.
He hangs out with, and yeah, it's really really a delightful movie. And,
Hmm.
and if you haven't seen it, you should treat yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Old Time says
Yeah.
so. All
And I
right,
love and
Renee. Oop,
Renee.
go ahead.
Oh,
Go
no,
ahead.
I was gonna mention you know kudos to Robert Loggia,
Yes.
and I think Elizabeth Perkins is the
Yes.
young woman.
Yes.
Yeah, the heroine of the story. Yeah, also
Yes.
great performances from them as well. All right,
Um,
Miss Renee.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this was the movie that introduced me to Tom Hanks, just my age or whatever. So I
Yeah.
actually just assumed, like, whenever I think of Tom Hanks, I think of Big First. I saw it so many times,
Yeah.
over and over. I know every scene, and it's just, but yeah, that's how I think of Tom Hanks. I will always think of him like that, because he embodied that character and he did it so well, and it was so convincing. And the friendship, I thought, between the two boys was so, I mean, that's how kids have friends, you sing
Right.
songs together and you banter and you do all that. So just an amazing movie. And thanks for reminding me about it, because I haven't seen it in a while, but it's one of those movies that anytime they would even play it on cable, I would always stop and watch it wherever it was, because it's
Oh
just
yeah.
such a good movie. Yeah.
It's a feel good movie.
Yeah.
Feel good
Very
movie.
feel good.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right.
So, what was your number 2, Renee?
No, no, no. I don't. You guys are tapping into all of it. I will weigh in, but you guys are the rankers. I'm very reticent to rank, and Hanks is somebody. It's very hard. You guys had your work cut out for you.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, my
So
list
hard
kept
to
A lot of
do.
changing
movies. A lot of
right
movies.
up to the last minute. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. All right. So my number 2 is, I think this may be more of a deep cut, which I know you like, Renee,
I love your deep cuts.
and it's The Road to Perdition.
Oh my gosh, I'm insane about that one. I love it. I love
Really
it.
awesome.
Yes, I think it started off did it start off as a graphic
It
novel?
was a graphic novel. Yes, exactly.
I read the graphic novel as well. My friend, Edison was all about this, and I went crazy over it. Yes, I've seen it multiple times.
Cool. All right.
I
So for
forgot he was
people,
in that.
yeah, yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I said it's kind of a deep cut. It's not one that people,
Yep.
I think, immediately think of when you think of Hanks,
Mhm.
because he plays a little darker character in this.
Yes.
It's set in the 1930s, and he plays essentially a hitman, kind of muscle for this Irish gangster played by Paul Newman. And I think this may have been his last movie. This may have been Paul Newman's last movie. I'm not
Mm.
entirely sure about that, but certainly one towards the end of his career. And great performance from him. Uh, uh, Daniel Craig is in this movie, playing Newman's son, who's a bit of a loose cannon. And Jude Law is in the movie as another hitman who goes after Hank's character, Michael, plays a character named Michael Sullivan. And Sullivan is a family man. Uh, Jennifer Jason Leigh has a small part as his wife, and he has two sons, and one who's kind of more like his character, or like he's more like his dad, Hanks. He sneaks into the car one day as Hanks is off on a mission, and he witnesses a murder. He witnesses Daniel Craig's character shooting somebody, and then Hanks mowing down other people with a machine gun.
Mm.
And of course, Hanks is like, you can never tell anybody about this, you know. But Craig, who is just insanely jealous of Hank's character because he feels like he's kind of stolen his father's affection, basically frames Hanks for something, and Hanks winds up having to go on the lam, as they say, with his son after the rest of his family is unfortunately sort of taken out. Bit of a spoiler there. And so they have to go and uh, and Newman's character winds up hiring, like I said, Jude Law's character uh, as to basically go after him and take him out. So it's kind of a road trip movie, and it's also about fathers and sons and the perils of that. But it's just this beautifully, beautifully shot movie directed by Sam Mendes. Like I said, set in the 30s, and it's just gorgeous to look at, and it's a really, really good story to boot. And Jude Law's character as this hired gun, who photographs dead bodies, as sort of a freelance kind of photojournalist, is just insane and just a great character. Uh, and a great performance from the young guy who plays Tank's son. Also, great performance for him. But yeah. So anyway, so that's my number 2. Road
You
to
know what
Perdition.
it reminds me of, Manny? It always reminded me, it had a similar vibe. There were similar elements to Paper Moon.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
very similar. There's a child and there's a kind of guardian, and then there's like criminal activity and someone kind of on the run, and it's a really, and also depression era type deal, and a sympathetic protagonist who also doesn't always make good decisions, and
right,
it,
right, right. Yeah,
it's very dark, and the way that Tom Hanks plays a hitman is so cool because he's understated. You know, this it's not the no crying in baseball. It's not that Tom Hanks. It's a very different feel, and I actually just forgot he was in it because he went into the role so beautifully. And
yeah,
but I love this movie, and it is a, like you said, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, and it's a reflective movie. And I think that it's another one where if you're kind of in a mood to feel artistic or a little insular, really good feel to it.
yeah.
Have you seen it, Rory? Have you seen Road to Perdition?
A long time ago, I saw it once, and it was okay for me. I thought it was good. I just didn't think it was great.
Okay.
So I think I had a hard time accepting Tom Hanks at that time as a killer because it was Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was my biggest problem. I remember liking Jude Law's character because he looked just, Jude Law is kind of a pretty boy, but he decided to go the other way in that film, which I liked. He decided to make himself kind of ugly and nasty, and and I like that. I didn't realize Daniel Craig was in it because I didn't know who Daniel Craig was until after.
Yeah. Right.
I just realized Daniel Craig was in one of the, I think he was in the first Lara Croft film.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then again, he didn't become something for me until Layer Cake. I watched the movie Layer Cake, which was right before he did Bond. And again, the Lara Croft film was like right before that, right before Layer Cake. So he was just starting to become a known British actor, like a well-known British actor at that time. So when Road to Perdition came out, nobody knew who he was over here.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'd say watch it again. Give it another look and see if you might change your mind, or you might still think it's now that you've seen more Hanks and seen his darker performances, more Craig,
more Jude Law,
yeah.
But Jude Law was the standout for me in that movie.
Yeah, I remember him.
Again, I thought Paul Newman really didn't have a lot to do. I felt
no, he didn't. But
and I thought that was a shame that they couldn't give him more.
Yeah.
And I just had a hard time accepting Hanks as that kind of character.
Yeah,
and that was
I can see that.
I
can see that.
That's me, not him.
Yeah.
So it didn't make my list.
Okay.
Too many other good movies.
Fair enough. I know there's
so
plenty of movies that
my second.
Okay.
And we've already talked about it. So what's your third?
My third is a comedy, and maybe one of the best comedies, whether it's Hanks or not, in my view, and that is The Money Pit with Shelley Long. To me, it's funny. It's tragic in a funny way, and I really love this movie. His relationship with Shelley with Shelley Long, and everything they go through with this this new house that they've got, and trying to fix it up, and having to deal with the contractors and everything. It just keeps going wrong. It's just very funny when he gets stuck in the floor.
It had a lot of fun moments. Yeah, the scene where he gets stuck in the floor is really funny.
When the bathtub goes through the floor, it
goes through the floor, and he laughs hysterically, and that Tom Hanks laugh, that crazy laugh.
Yeah.
That's
So,
funny. The scene with the raccoon and Shelley Long was funny.
but
I just
I sense a
there's a lot
but.
of other movies that I just liked better.
Yeah. Well, that's I didn't think this list was going to be we were just going to be completely simpatico on it. So I mean, I could have had Joe versus the volcano in this list. So
Joe versus the volcano came that close to being on my dishonorable mention list. Yeah,
yeah,
that one was a real shocker. I think nobody was expecting that movie to be what it was.
yeah.
But no, I've got two other films as my dishonorable mentions, but that one
Okay.
came close.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's all subjective and comedy especially. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he's made some other comedies that are really great as well. I mean, going back to Bachelor Party, uh, Big. We mentioned Big. We mentioned Splash, which is more of a romantic comedy.
Did we
Uh,
mention Splash?
we haven't mentioned Splash yet, and
It's on
that's
my
one of
top
my.
five.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that was my number three. What's your number three?
My number three was Terminal.
Okay.
It's a wonderful performance by him playing a foreign man who is trapped in the airport because of a political coup in his country. And Stanley Tucci is so nasty in that as the guy who's running the security of the airport, who's trying to trick him into leaving the airport so that they don't have to deal with him anymore. And he's surviving. He's living in the airport. And all along the way, they kind of throw in Catherine Zeta-Jones as a character who's I'm not sure why they did that, but because it really didn't go much of anywhere. But it just shows that he's just a good person, a very nice person. He helps people out, you know. That's who he is. That's who his character is, and that's what we want to get to understand about him because it balances well with Stanley Tucci, who is just not a nice guy.
Oh yeah.
And he's the head of the security at the airport. And he is the villain, and he's a very good villain, and one of the best villains in a Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
A Spielberg produced movie. Spielberg directed that too, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Great supporting cast. I really enjoy watching that movie. I've seen it a couple of times. I just enjoy it. It's a feel good movie, and it's got humanity. A lot of it. That's his thanks to Hank's performance. So
I absolutely I hated that movie. I thought it was terrible. No, I'm kidding. I had to do it. I just had to do that.
How can you hate that movie?
No, it.
My next one's going to shock you, I bet.
Probably. But yeah, no, it's a good movie. And I meant to include it in my honorable mentions. I mean, there's so many movies that I could have included in my honorable mentions. Terminal was definitely one of them. The other Spielberg movie that I wanted to mention was Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me
one
If You
with
Can.
With DiCaprio. But anyway, yeah, Terminal, excellent.
That's more DiCaprio's movie, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is more of a movie.
That's a good movie, though.
Yeah. But yeah, Terminal is great. I forgot that Catherine Zeta-Jones was in it, which I guess her character wasn't that memorable. I remember Stanley Tucci because he was so
two or
awful.
3 times during the film, and she's got the hots for a guy who's a married guy, and she knows it, and she knows she shouldn't do it. And
I guess they had to throw in. We gotta
Hanks,
get a girl in here
first
somewhere.
you think that they're going to try to set her up with Hanks and his character, but that doesn't happen. And but he advises her, and it shows his humanity. It shows what kind of a good person he is.
Right, yeah.
Among
I guess
all
that's
the other
point,
things that they show, this shows that he's a good guy.
Yeah. So, okay.
We are rooting for him all through that film.
Absolutely.
So that's my number 3.
Okay.
Number 4.
So my number 4 is, speaking of Spielberg, is Saving Private Ryan.
Ah,
Big giant war movie with a lot of heart, and the emotional and moral center of this movie is the Tom Hanks character, Captain Miller. You know, he's the one kind of keeping everybody together, and again, it's another just stellar performance from Hanks.
it is.
And you know, I honestly I didn't expect to see him in a war movie, but he pulls it off. And again, it's one of his early, I would say early, but
Didn't
you
he
know,
direct a war series?
he produced helped produce Band of Brothers,
Band of Brothers,
which came out of this.
which I've never seen.
Oh, it's a great miniseries.
But yeah, it's a
And
miniseries, and
I mean,
it was produced by him.
yeah, well, co-produced. I think he and Spielberg had a lot
Oh,
kind of co-produced it. Uh, and I mean, if you like Saving Private Ryan, you would like Band of Brothers. It has
I thought Saving
same
Private
feel.
Ryan was a entertaining film. It was depressing in the fact that all the main characters that were trying to save Private Ryan, who didn't want to be saved, died. You know, I hate to spoil it, but wow, it's really kind of depressing. But
It is,
you know,
and we know your feelings about depressing movies.
we see the actor who plays Private Ryan as an old man at the end of the film, character actor. And he was like, "Was I a good man?" You know, he's crying and he's talking to his family, and I mean, it's very heartfelt, but again, very depressing. You know.
Yeah.
But the message is, you know, that the military did the right thing by bringing Private Ryan back. You know, because all of his brothers were killed in war, and that's war. I mean, you know, a lot of people don't survive war. And that was what Spielberg was trying to say, I think.
Yeah.
And it's important for family that, you know, somebody survives and is brought home. But yeah, I couldn't put it on my list because there was just too many other good movies that I just enjoyed more.
Oh, I understand. I mean,
Again,
yeah,
it was
this is a tough one. A tough one. You know,
My
I think.
number 4, or are you finished? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say. I mean, really, any one of these films could have been on my list, and I'm sure you know. But you got to make choices, and
Yeah.
my choices. So
yeah.
Right. So sorry. So what was your number 4?
My number 4 was The Green Mile, which was directed by Jean Darabont. It is a Stephen King story. It has a mystical kind of angle to it with Michael Clark Duncan playing John Coffey, a man who can take the bad out of somebody and spit it up into this guy, all the evil and the bad. He can just kind of suck it out of somebody, and if he touches you, you may live for a long time. That's the twist at the end, is that Tom Hanks's character is like 120 or 130 something years old, and he's pretty spry, he's still getting around pretty good. So that's his curse, because he believed in John Coffey and let him touch him in a very sensitive place. Yeah, he's gonna live a long time and have to watch all of his friends die, and all of his and there's a mouse in it. The mouse is still alive, because John Coffey saved it. And I can't remember the character actor that played he loved the mouse. Damn it, his name is escaping. Michael Jeter, maybe. He's wonderful. Yeah, he is wonderful in it. The very creepy from the X-Files plays Percy Westmore. I can't remember his name. He married like a 17-year-old girl, and that pretty much ended his career. I think he's still with her. I can't remember his name.
No.
But a young Sam Rockwell plays. I think his name is Billy the Kid, something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
He turns out to be seriously bad, evil. In the film, and his character is actually kind of played for laughs through the film, but he turns out to be the real evil one there in that prison area. Great cast, because it's just a wonderful cast, great writing, wonderful story. Bill Sadler does a cameo in it as the father of a couple of little girls that are killed in the film by a mass murder. It turns out to be Bill. And John Coffey just kind of sets things straight with that. And that's all I'm going to say. And he does a lot. But then he ends up going electric chair. They kill him. Not realizing what he is and what he's done and how good he is. And these guys that work at the prison, they understand, they know who he is. But unfortunately, sadly, he's already been convicted of a murder, and there's no way to turn that around. And he ends up dying, this fantastic, magical man. And since we're dealing with impressions, I am so tired, boss. I just want to be up there with that little mouse performing in a circus. That's my John Coffey.
That was very good. That was very convincing.
Yeah.
I actually went to his gravesite when I visited my cousin in LA. We like to go to famous people's graves, and I did something like that when I shot a video of me in front of the gravesite doing an impression of him. I was doing that at the time, and somewhere I have those somewhere stored away. Me at Peter Falk's grave. Excuse me, there's a fence here. I can't get through. But there it is.
There's something so right about that and so wrong. I don't know.
Well, and again, I've never released those videos because everybody's warned me, hey, don't do it because some people would say it's disrespectful. And I'm like,
actually, I don't know. I can't tell.
It's kind of homage,
I think it's an homage. I think it's
impressions are the sincerest form of flattery, they say. And okay, so maybe I went a little far when I went to L. Frank Baum's grave and got down on my knees with my shoes on my knees and was singing the Lollipop Guild. Okay, maybe I went a little far on that one.
That might be a little. You may have crossed the line on that one, mister.
But we had to go inside to see Larry Fine from the Three Stooges, and there were guards around. It didn't like chicanery, so I did a one-line impression, very quietly, down by his crypt. I guess I should call it. He's like in a wall, and he's down close to the floor. And I got down close to it, and I just went, "Hey Mo," and that was it. That's the whole impression. So again, I've got those somewhere. I've got them tucked away. Maybe when I die, someone will share those with the world.
Maybe.
Maybe I'll break down and just share them and take the heat. We'll see. So anyway, Green Mile is my number 4. It's a fantastic movie. It's a great double feature with The Shawshank Redemption, which is also Jean Darabont directing.
Stephen King. Yeah.
The trilogy is The Mist is the third one, and it is so dark, the ending.
Oh God, yes.
That you kind of put an end to it, I think. But the Green Mile is so damn good, as well as The Shawshank Redemption. The Mist is really good. It's very scary. And again, that's what King writes. That's what he wants. He wants, he doesn't want a happy ending. He wants, you to feel bad for the characters that didn't make it.
Yeah.
In his stories. that just makes it more horrifying, more terrifying. You don't get attached to anybody because, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but again, Darabont really knows how to direct that stuff.
Oh yeah.
He also was in charge of The Walking Dead in the first season, and then they kind of took it from him and gave it to other people.
Yeah, which is, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah,
that's when it was good. I mean, that's what got everybody hooked, was that first season.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was the second season where they took it from him, or if it was just that between the first and second season. But yeah, the first season was really good. The second season was okay.
Yeah.
Third season was in the prison.
Yeah. It was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just never, yeah. I mean, yeah. Anyway, well,
that's my number 4.
That's a good movie. But I kind of feel the same way that you do about Saving Private Ryan.
Too ghoulish for the list, huh?
It's so. I mean, it's a great movie, but that ending, and it's just depressing as hell. You know, and so yeah.
Yeah, you know, I don't like depressing movies, but
yeah, you know, I saw it. I think I've actually only seen it once, and I'm like, I'm good. And I love Michael Duncan Clark, and I love Tom Hanks, and you know, David Morse, and everybody else in that movie.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, great performances from everybody, but holy cow, that's you know, I may watch it again. You know, that it is a good movie, and it is a good companion
you watch
piece.
Shawshank Redemption after.
Yeah, it's a little more. You know, at least that one has a happy ending.
Don't watch The Mist after.
Oh my god! Oh no! That's another one where you're like, oh no! Poor Jane, Thomas James. Anyway, all right. So that's number 4. My number 5 is Apollo 13.
Good movie.
And the real life story, the story of Apollo 13, mission that almost didn't make it. You know, the Houston, we have a problem movie, wonderfully directed by Ron Howard. Yes.
Yeah.
Another great with co-starring Bill Paxton, the late Bill Paxton, and Kevin Bacon. Also, Gary Sinise is in the movie, and I keep on saying it's not Scott Glenn.
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris, thank you. And one of his good performances. You know, we've talked about him. You know, he runs hot and cold as far as his performances are concerned. But that was a really good performance. And again, all playing real life people. And I don't know if this is one of the first ones where Hank started playing real life people, but it certainly got him on that path.
He's playing a lot of famous people.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that when we get to the honorable mentions list.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those movies are on my honorable mention list.
Yeah. And having lived through the actual events, you know, seeing it dramatized like that. And yeah, of course, movies always take a few liberties with reality and the facts and everything, but they got it pretty close. And it is a nail biter, even though you already know how it all turns out. It still manages to really generate a lot of suspense, and especially for younger viewers who don't remember any of that, who you know never have to live through the Apollo missions and all that, or any of the space missions, since they've kind of been halted. It's a good little history lesson on that period in time, and just the recreation of the period was beautifully done as well. Again, the special effects were just so well done, and so yeah. So
it will be a good double feature with The Right Stuff. which also has Ed
yes.
Harris, and that starts. It's a depiction of what happened with the Gemini program in the '60s, how it started, how it progressed,
Yeah.
the
Original.
tragedies, the successes. It's like a
Yeah.
3-hour movie.
Oh
It's
yeah.
long, and it's got a humongous cast. Yeah, all good people.
All the people. Yeah.
So that's
All
your
right.
number 5.
That was my number 5.
So my number 5 is Splash, another Ron
Mm,
Howard film, a comedy.
yeah.
Great performance by John Candy. Great
Mm,
performance by Hanks. And we got Daryl Hannah as a mermaid.
mm-hmm.
She's wonderful in it.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's a delightful film. It's a very feel good, another feel good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
again, Tom Hanks, young Tom Hanks, early on in his career. This might have been his first mainstream movie, if I remember correctly.
I
Because
think
then he
so.
started working with Big, and then with Penny Marshall and doing Big and League of Their Own, and so I think Splash was the first one
I
that
think
actually
so.
made him a star,
Yeah.
comedy star. It was before Bachelor Party. I remember that too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, really enjoyed that film, and it's a good
Yeah.
movie to go back to every now and again and watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we
This is
get
the
to our
movie.
honorable mentions.
Yeah. Splash, I think, is the movie that The Little Mermaid should have been, or could have been, but didn't quite make it. It was The Little
You
Mermaid
mean the
before they
live
made The Little
action?
Mermaid. Yeah, the live action version.
Wow, I've
But
heard
yeah,
such
Daryl
bad things.
Hannah.
I haven't seen it because I've heard such bad things about it. Same
Yeah.
thing with the new Snow White. I just heard
Yeah.
so many bad things about it. I just like, okay,
Yeah.
not gonna waste my time.
And I don't have a problem with the casting. Everybody's like, oh no, with it. It's like, I don't care about that. It's just the idea of Disney cannibalizing itself. Like why remake all their cartoons into live action? It's unnecessary. Do something new. There's plenty of books, plenty of stories that you could be telling uh, that are new and fresh and original. Or haven't been done, why go back to the old catalog? So anyway, that's a story for another day.
Mm,
All right, so honorable mentions.
definitely Bachelor Party. Um, that was the first one I think I saw with Tom Hanks. The first comedy I saw. I saw it before I saw Splash.
Mm-hmm.
And he is so damn funny in that.
Yeah.
Fighting against the rich parents, and the boyfriend that they want to set their daughter up with. Tawny Katane is the fiance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, Interesting cast of ne'er do wells as his friends.
Yeah.
Barry Diamond stands out as Rudy, the very brash and uncouth mechanic friend. One of them is suicidal,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of weird to throw in there, but um, just a really funny movie.
Yeah.
George Grizzard
Grizzard.
plays the
Yeah.
father of the bride,
Mm-hmm.
and just his back and forth with Hanks alone is just wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, very funny movie, very very funny.
Yeah.
A lot of good lines in that film. Philadelphia got an Academy Award, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Very heart wrenching, depressing kind of film.
Oh yeah.
It involves AIDS, and Tom Hanks's character is dying of AIDS, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a court case, and Denzel Washington agrees to take his case after some time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, good performances by all.
Yeah.
I think Jason Robards is in that, if I remember correctly.
I think
And
so.
Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, it's it's a feel-good movie, but yet a depressing movie. Because the
Oh
character,
yeah.
the main
Oh yeah.
character, played by Hanks, who's very likable, is going to
Hmm.
die. And he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to give that one a nod. Castaway gets a nod. Again, we've talked about that one. Now let's get into Tom Hanks starting to play historic characters, people who are in the real people.
Hmm.
Saving Mr. Banks, he plays Walt Disney, does a
Right. Yeah.
wonderful job.
Yeah.
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, he plays Mr. Rogers
Right. Frank Rogers.
and
Yeah.
does a great job as Mr. Rogers. Doesn't
Right.
overdo it, which is very easy to do with Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
And Elvis, he plays Colonel Tom Parker, and he is
Right.
so nasty and vicious and mean. You just hate him so much, and he's under like 300 tons of makeup.
Hmm.
It's an amazing performance and a gutsy move by him
Yeah.
to play something like that.
Yeah. And of course, Renee mentioned earlier Captain Phillips.
Yeah.
Uh,
And we mentioned Sully. He played
and
Sully, the guy
Sully.
that saved all the people by landing the plane in the water
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
So
got
yeah.
chastised for it. That was a Clint Eastwood film, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Exactly.
All right, that's enough of that.
Yeah.
To be directed by Clint Eastwood.
I mean, come on. Yeah. Okay.
I
Well,
have two honorable mentions, but we're going to wait until after your honorable mention list to do them.
okay. Well, I think we covered most of those. My honorable mentions include Philadelphia,
No.
which that really could have been a top 5. But again,
Yeah.
so it's so gut wrenching,
Yeah.
and a little depressing. But yeah, terrific performance from Hanks, and of course Denzel Washington, which we mentioned on an earlier program. Big splash, A League of Their Own. There's no crying in baseball. You Got Mail.
There's no crying in baseball. Well said.
Exactly. You Got Mail, which is, I think, the better of the movies that he made with Meg Ryan,
I like
the romantic
Sleepless
comedy.
in Seattle the best.
Did you really?
Of those,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
of those.
Yeah.
I thought he and Meg were a little too old to be doing romantic comedy when they got into You Got Mail. And that just seemed like kind of a shill for AOL to me. So that just kind of set me off in it. So yeah,
Well, it's interesting.
Sleepless in Seattle, I think, was the best of the was it 3 films that they did together?
Yeah. I kind of have the opposite. Kind of have the opposite feeling about that. I mean, I like Sleepless in Seattle. Don't get me wrong, and I gotta admit, I do like Joe versus the Volcano. It's kind of a guilty pleasure for me, even though it's not one of the better movies. But I think, in fact, because they're older, is why I like You Got Mail. To me, this much more mature relationship that they have is what attracts me to that movie. I mean, yeah, the AOL stuff. Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. But and also it's a remake. It's a remake of the Bookshop Around the. I believe it's called Bookshop Around the Corner or The Shop Around the Corner, which is an earlier film. Another kind of romantic comedy, which they updated obviously with email and all that, which was kind of a new thing when the movie came out. But yeah, I just felt like the fact that they were a little more mature, the characters are a bit more mature, just made it that much more fun. But that's not to take away from Sleepless in Seattle, which is also a very delightful movie. Bachelor Party, we talked about that. And I also want to give a mention, even though he's not really the star of it, That Thing You Do.
Yeah.
The musical, kind of musical.
He directed that.
He directed that. I think it's maybe the first movie that he directed.
I think so.
But yeah, wonderful performance from all the actors in that, all the young actors, and his performance as the manager, the guy who kind of gets this group together or tries to lead them through, it's just a fun movie. It's just delightful. Uh, that recreation of that period again, very very well. Uh, uh, just beautifully shot, beautifully handled. And it's just again just a fun movie. No big dramatic themes here. It's just here's a little slice of life, and his wife and Rita Wilson's in it, and she gives a nice little sweet little performance as this kind of slightly this very sexy cocktail waitress that kind of picks up on this one character, but nothing happens there. But anyway, just a fun little movie.
Yeah.
And there's probably, and like we said, there's probably dozens of other movies that we haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
That he was in that were terrific.
Great soundtrack for that movie, by the way.
And a great soundtrack. Yeah.
I remember listening to the hell out of that CD when it came out. It was my favorite part of the movie was the music.
The music, exactly. Yeah. So, anyway.
Dishonorable mentions. Do you have any dishonorable mentions?
I have one, and that is, and no, it's not Joe versus the volcano.
No,
it's a movie. It's during that period we was doing comedies. It's called the Man with One Red Shoe, which was supposed to be kind of.
I didn't dislike that film. I didn't like it all that much, but I didn't dislike it.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, I can't. So that's kind of why I hesitated. Say it's a dishonorable mention.
Rory
It's
Singer
not a
is the
terrible
lead actress
movie.
in that, right? And it was a spy spoof.
It was supposed to be a spy spoof, and again, it's another remake.
There is
of
a scene where she
film.
sees pictures of him as a kid, and she kind of falls in love with him in the film. And that performance was really interesting. Was really good.
Yeah.
Hanks is kind of wasted in it.
Exactly, and I think that's why it's
funny. I mean, he's okay, but it's just not written that well, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have all these kind of spy characters running around, and it's kind of like a Hitchcock thing where he's kind of stuck in the middle.
Exactly.
And, gets they think he's a spy and he's not. And
it
just doesn't kind of hit on all cylinders. So
it's a remake.
Mention, but not
It's a remake of I believe a French film, which I finally saw that one, and it's a lot better. It's a lot better. They totally missed the mark on the remake.
I see that. So, I understand.
Okay, so you're what are your dishonorable mentions?
That came out after Splash. It was called Volunteers, and it was god awful bad written. And Hanks plays this snobby character, and he's like Thurston Howell III Jr. And it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. There's one scene in it where he opens a door and there's a leopard in a room, and he closes the door and he turns to the camera and goes, "A leopard." And that was funny. That made me laugh out loud in the movie theater. But that was the only laugh I got. And John Candy was in it, and he wasn't funny. If you can't make John Candy funny, it's horrible. But not the worst. Not the worst thing that Tom Hanks ever did. Turner and Hooch is the worst thing Tom Hanks ever did. Oh. And he actually went on like the David Letterman show and all the talk shows and was like, "You don't kill the dog."
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
He's like, "I don't care how many puppies you trot out at the end of the film, you don't kill the dog." It's a dog and master road trip kind of thing. And it's just, I didn't like the dog. I was okay with him dying. And that should tell you something right there. And again, I just felt like it was very forced, and it didn't look like Tom Hanks was having a good time making it. And again, the stuff that he said on talk shows and stuff afterwards pretty much confirmed that. It's just not a good movie.
Yeah.
I if you see it on the shelf, or if you see it on your YouTube or whatever, just pass right by it and go to something else. Go to the one with Man with One Red Shoe before you do that one.
Yeah. What's the one? Okay. What's Belushi? Jim Belushi did a movie with a dog that I think is actually better than Turner and Hooch. It's funny because both of
That one kind of turned me off dog films, like master and dog films for forever. After I saw that one, I was like, I'm never watching another one of these again. I just don't like. There's one with Channing Tatum that just came out, and I'm like, I am not going to see this movie. I don't care how cute the trailer is. I'm not watching it.
Yeah. I totally forgotten about Volunteers and Turner and Hooch.
Yeah.
Because they're just not.
There's a reason for that.
And they're just not that memorable. And
they're not
that good. Yeah, exactly.
They're not good at all. They're bad movies.
Yeah.
And again, everybody, makes a mistake every now and again and signs up for something that they just didn't realize it was going to be, shite.
Yeah.
I blame the director for Volunteers.
Yeah.
Turner and Hooch, I don't know who to blame for that. The director, the writer, Hanks. Again, you would think that Hanks would come up with something a little more. Oh, I forgot to mention Dragnet, by the way, which he's very good at. But it's more Dan Aykroyd's movie, I think.
That's Dan Aykroyd's movie.
Dragnet is fun. He plays Pep Streebak, his partner, Aykroyd's partner, and Aykroyd's doing the Dragnet, Joe Dragnet shtick.
Yeah,
and it's fun. I mean, it's got Dabney Coleman in it. It's got oh god, really old actor. Did a lot of movies.
Christopher Plummer's in it.
Christopher Plummer.
He's the bad guy.
He's the villain in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or one of the villains. It's just a really it's a fun movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Virgin Whale.
Yeah.
It was referred to as the Virgin Connie's Whale.
Virgin Connie's Whale. Yeah. That's very straight laced. Yeah. Oh yeah. They had to bring in an actor,
who's in the original Dragnet.
The original Dragnet.
Now he's the captain.
Jack Webb passed away.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if Webb would have wanted to be in that movie. But
Aykroyd was playing his son, supposedly.
Yeah.
So, Joe Freddy.
Yeah.
You didn't like it, I could tell.
Yeah. That was okay. I enjoyed it for what it was. And I like Hanks in that.
Yes. Hanks is good in that.
So just out of curiosity, I had to find out who directed Volunteers. And it was Nicholas Meyer.
Really?
Yes. Who, of course, Star Trek fans know, directed Wrath of Khan and The Voyage of Undiscovered Country, and who wrote 7% Solution, the Sherlock Holmes books.
He's good, usually. I feel bad and I ditched him.
Yeah.
I don't know what went wrong with that. I guess
I don't know.
It's just not funny.
Maybe the bad script, I guess. And I don't know, he just kind of went with it. Yeah. So anyway.
Again, he mostly directs things that he writes.
Yeah.
So that's
if he wrote that, then shame on him.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we doing next week?
Next
I'm
week,
going to New York for the weekend.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I hope it's nothing that I have a lot of research to do.
Oh my. Well, next week I planned. Oh my. Next week I plan to do a wonderful British actress by the name of Helen Mirren.
Oh. Okay.
So I don't know if that's going to be.
All right. I got to start working on my stuff tonight, I guess.
Yeah. You got, Excalibur. You got the thief, the cook, and her lover, or whatever.
One of those.
And
Red,
and plenty of other movies. So
yeah, Caligula.
Yeah. So
Well,
there you go.
Then. All right.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it for this show, I guess. Tomorrow we have Roland Pruitt's Kaiju Review. Yes.
Pruitt's Kaiju Review. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah.
King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, that's tomorrow. Thursday, I think we're going to do a Bond show with autographs.
Okay.
I don't think I leave for New York until Friday. So if that changes, I'll let you know. But I think we're going to have a show this weekend for Bond.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't think I leave until Friday day, and then we get there Friday night, and then we're there Saturday, Sunday, and come back Sunday night. So it's only like a 2.5 day trip. So yeah.
All right then. All right.
Renee.
Any...
All right, I'm here. Yes, I can't think of anything. I don't know what's on No Icing this week. I was looking right now, but I can't find it yet. Are you going to do No Icing?
It's a special show.
Okay.
I know that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I saw.
Again, if I don't have to go till Friday, yeah,
you'll be there.
I should be there. Yeah.
So that'll be 10 p.m. Eastern time. 7 Pacific, and that will be with Sandy D and Rory Penland.
It's the guy who's an actor who's a friend of Uncle Nino. He's coming back on the show.
Okay, fantastic. Michael Graziano.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah,
he's amazing.
Type. Yeah, so he's going to come on and talk about some stuff, and he was just in a music video.
Wow, that is going to be very exciting.
So that's going to be a fun show.
You don't want to miss that.
Wants me to be there. Yeah.
Okay.
For that.
Very exciting, especially for anyone who's like a fan of the Jersey Shore or anything. But also he's a workout guy too. He's like really fit and very funny, and it's that New Jersey type of guy, and he's great.
Oh, man, that should be great.
It is very, very fun. Yes. Well, all right. I'm not gonna miss that. That's great, and we love Sandy D. So
yes, we do.
Great. All right, guys.
All right. Okay.
We got to do a sign up. We got to find a way to do a sign up. We have to have a catchphrase, like an Urkel thing. Did I do that? And that'll be like the end. Yeah.
No.
Or there's no crying for $1. We could just end every show with you guys yelling, "There's no crying in baseball," and that would be great.
There's no crying in baseball.
Yeah. All right, do it again, and then I'll wrap it. Now I'm ready. Okay.
There's no crying in baseball. Thanks for watching this episode of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal Talking About Movies. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to get future episodes.